Stanton is looking at its Enterprise Zone at tonight's City Council meeting. The first Stanton Enterprise Zone was created in 1990 for a 20-year period and expired at the end of last year. Stanton applied and was one of 4 localities statewide that received a new Enterprise Zone for 2010 to 2020 with 2 5-year renewal options. The city now needs to adopt a new Enterprise Zone ordinance reflecting new boundaries and incentives. And joining us now to discuss the Enterprise Zone is Stanton's Director of Economic Development, Bill Hamilton. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me, Bob.
Bill, what exactly does an Enterprise Zone do?
An Enterprise Zone is certified by the Commonwealth of Virginia, and it provides incentives for business development, both new businesses and expanding local businesses.
And the money comes both state and locally?
Yes, you have local incentives and state incentives. The state incentives apply across all zones. The local incentives are unique to each zone.
The previous Enterprise Zone lasted from 1990 to last year. How effective was it?
Well, we believe it was very effective as part of an overall revitalization strategy for the city and the Central Business District. Examples of the projects that we think the Enterprise Zone made a difference on were, for instance, the Stonewall Jackson Hotel redevelopment and most recently the Gypsy Hill Place mixed-use project, which is the redevelopment of the former Lee High School.
Now, what benefits does locating in an Enterprise Zone give a business? I understand there's incentives, but what are we talking about?
Well, those incentives range from a real estate development incentive from the state, which can be fairly substantial, between $100,000 and $200,000 per project. We have local incentives that go to job grants. We have incentives for property redevelopment that reduce property taxes. And we have a mix of other incentives as well that can also be negotiated project by project.
What are the major parts of the new Enterprise Zone, major locations?
The new Enterprise Zone incorporates all of the Central Business District, downtown Stanton, our Greenville Avenue corridor, Route 11 to the south, parts of Richmond Avenue 250 to the east, our Green Hills Industry and Technology Park in the north end of the city, parts of Middlebrook Avenue. So it covers a substantial part of the city where we expect business development to happen.
Now, you're also proposing to add 2 other areas to the zone. The Unified plant closed in 2008, and you're proposing that that area would also be added, correct?
Yes, we're going to include a portion of that property, which is 17 acres in what is known as Plant 2, that occupies that. It's a 260,000 square foot vacant manufacturing facility.
Okay. And in addition to Unify, you want to add the site of the Owasso Cultural Center to the zone? Why is that?
Yes, that's true. That is in the very east end of the city at I-81, I-64, and US 250. It's on the grounds of the Frontier Culture Museum. And we believe the Enterprise Zone will be a critical element of the private developers completing their private financing for that project.
So this may not happen without it being put into the Enterprise Zone?
That's correct. In addition to the local incentives that we offer and the state incentives, location in an Enterprise Zone can make a difference for federal new market tax credits, which are very substantial incentives for a real estate development project like this. And being in the Enterprise Zone can be a contributing factor to qualifying for that.
What about Unify? Is there anything with Owasso? You've got something planned there. Is there anything planned or hopeful with Unify, or just using that as a potential tool?
We have some companies looking at the Unify facility for specific projects. They are serious inquiries, and we want to be in a position to help close the deal if they move forward.
All right, Bill Hamilton, Stanton's Director of Economic Development, thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me.
And now let's send it to Mel.